Right now, someone, somewhere, is placing a bet, maybe on a football game, maybe on a horse race, maybe on a card table, maybe on a slot machine that is absolutely not about to pay them back, but they are pretending it might. And when people talk about gambling, they usually talk about casinos, money, addiction, or bad decisions made at 2 in the morning. But the strange part is this: gambling is not a modern invention. It is older than casinos, older than playing cards, older than coins, and possibly older than writing itself. Long before humans had poker tables, lottery tickets, or apps that let you lose money without leaving your couch, they were already doing something very similar. They were throwing bones, literally, because one of the earliest ancestors of dice was not a cube, it was the ankle bone of an animal. Sheep, goats, deer, cattle. Animals with small bones that could be thrown, land in different positions, and produce different outcomes. These bones are called astragali, or knuckle bones. And at some point, ancient humans realized something very dangerous. You could throw them, watch where they landed, and let chance decide what happened next. That one idea changed everything, because once humans discovered chance, they did not just use it to play. They used it to predict the future. They used it to talk to gods. They used it to settle arguments. And eventually, they used it to take each other's stuff, which is basically the origin story of gambling. Now, it is hard to say exactly when the first bet happened, because the first bet was probably not written down. It was probably something like this. One ancient human held up a bone and said, "If it lands this way, I get your meat." And the other ancient human, making the first terrible financial decision in history, said, "Fine." That moment probably happened long before anyone invented money, because gambling does not need coins. It only needs risk. It needs something valuable, something uncertain, and one person who thinks the universe is about to be nice to them. And humans have always been very good at that last part. The earliest gambling-like objects were probably not made for casinos or games. They may have come from divination, trying to read messages from chance. If the bone lands this way, the hunt will be good. If it lands that way, the gods are angry. If it lands another way, maybe do not marry that person. To ancient people, randomness did not always feel random. It felt like meaning. Today, if dice land on 6, we say that is probability. An ancient person might say, something wanted that to happen. And once you believe chance can reveal fate, it is not a huge leap to believe chance can also make you rich. This is why gambling and fortune-telling are so closely connected in the ancient world. The same kind of object could be used for both. A bone could be a toy, a bone could be a message from a god, or a bone could be the reason your friend now owns your goat. By around 5,000 years ago, humans were not just throwing random bones. They were making actual dice. Some of the oldest known dice come from ancient sites in places like Mesopotamia, Iran, the Indus Valley, and Scotland. And once dice existed, humans had a portable machine for producing uncertainty. That sounds simple, but it is huge. A die is basically a tiny object that turns physics into suspense. You throw it, it spins. For 1 second, nobody knows what will happen. And that 1 second is the whole addiction. Because your brain loves the space between maybe and no, that is where hope lives. And gambling is built almost entirely out of hope. But the best ancient example is not just a die, it is a board game. In the 1920s, archaeologist Leonard Woolley was excavating the royal cemetery at Ur in modern Iraq. Inside the tombs, he found beautiful game boards decorated with shell, red stone, and lapis lazuli. Today, one of these boards is known as the Royal Game of Ur. The British Museum dates one famous board to around 2600 to 2400 BCE. That makes it more than 4,000 years old. And this was not just some little toy scratched into dirt. This was a luxury object. It was found in a royal cemetery. Someone important cared enough about this game to take it into the afterlife, which is either deeply spiritual or the oldest version of, I am not done with this match. The game of was a race game. Two players moved pieces across a board using dice-like objects to decide how far they could move. So it was not pure luck. There was strategy, but luck was always there. You could make a good move, plan carefully, feel very smart, and then the dice could ruin your entire life. Which means the basic emotional experience of board games has not changed in 4,000 years. But here is where it gets even more interesting. Later Babylonian tablets suggest that the game of was not just entertainment, it also had a connection to fortune and fate. Certain spaces on the board were linked to predictions. Landing in the right place could mean success, power, beer, friendship, or some kind of good omen. So the game was not only about winning, it was about what winning might mean. Ancient players were not only asking, will I beat this person? They may also have been asking, what is the universe trying to tell me? That is very different from a modern casino, but also not that different. Because even today, gamblers often talk to luck like it is a person. Come on. Just one more. This machine is about to hit. I can feel it. That feeling is ancient. It is the belief that randomness is not really random, that if you watch closely enough, you can see a pattern, a sign, a message, and that belief is one of the reasons gambling is so powerful. The human brain is a pattern machine. It wants cause and effect. It wants meaning. It wants to believe that after losing 5 times, a win is somehow due. But probability does not care about your feelings. A die does not remember that you lost. A coin does not think, wow, he has had a rough day. Maybe I should land heads now. But humans think like that all the time. And ancient humans probably did too. Because the emotional hook of gambling is not money. Money makes it louder. But the real hook is uncertainty. The moment before the result, the throw, the spin, the reveal, the tiny gap where your brain can imagine a better future. That is why gambling can appear almost anywhere humans appear. Ancient people gambled with bones, dice, sticks, stones, shells, animals, races, fights, and board games. In ancient Rome, dice games became so popular that authorities tried to restrict them, which, as usual, did not stop people. Romans played with dice in homes, streets, bars, military camps, and probably anywhere someone could say double or nothing. Archaeologists have found gaming boards carved into stone in public places, and Roman writers complained about gambling the way modern people complain about phones. Different century, same problem. And it was not just Rome. In ancient China, games of chance and betting became part of social life. In India, dice games appear in ancient literature, including stories where gambling can destroy families, kingdoms, and reputations, which means people understood the danger very early. They just kept playing anyway. That is the strange thing about gambling. Humans have always known it can go wrong, but we have also always been drawn to it. Because gambling compresses life into a few seconds. Risk, hope, fear, loss, reward, regret, and then, somehow, the desire to try again. It is almost a tiny model of being human. You do not know what'll happen, but you make a choice anyway. You throw the bone, you roll the die. You move the piece. And for one moment, the future is suspended in the air. So when did humans start gambling? The honest answer is, we do not know exactly. The first true bet disappeared the moment it happened. But the ingredients are ancient. Animal bones used for chance go back thousands of years. Dice appear in some of the earliest civilizations. The royal game of was being played more than 4,000 years ago. And long before casinos, humans were already obsessed with luck, fate, risk, and the possibility that one throw could change everything. So gambling did not begin with cards. It did not begin with casinos. It did not begin with money. It began when humans looked at randomness and thought, maybe I can win. And unfortunately for us, that thought is very old.